Let's talk about work and life and everything in between. Welcome to the new season of BenchTalk podcast. I am your host and coach, Jackie Mitchell from Jackie Mitchell Career Consulting. Here on BenchTalk, you'll be part of the conversation with women just like us who are all about living big, living bold, taking strategic and big action, and being successful. Welcome to this episode of Bench Talk. Today we're going to talk about your growth and how to stop overcomplicating it. We can have growth in so many areas, professional and personal growth, which really doesn't matter because it's all basically the same thing. It's growth. It basically means the same thing, to grow, to expand. So in the past few months, I've spoken to women who are at a point in their lives and in their careers where they're feeling stuck or at a crossroads, or so they think. And I say that with all love and authenticity because I've been squarely in their shoes at one point or another. But here's the kicker. I've heard this said before that you can't see the label from within the bottle, or you can't see the label from inside the bottle. I believe I heard that from Kyle Cease. When you are knee deep in the mud of things, you rarely see the obvious way out. So someone on the outside typically can see and help you get unstuck. Our topic today is about overcomplicating our growth. Why do we do that? Because it's scary. I get it. Growth is scary and painful sometimes, but it really doesn't have to be. At most, it should be uncomfortable. Most of us don't want to be near anything uncomfortable, so we excuse our way out of it. Not only do we excuse our way out of it, we overcomplicate it and make excuses. We make excuses that it's complicated or difficult. That word difficult. Let me talk about that word difficult and what that invokes in us. So the dictionary describes difficult as something needing much effort or something needing much effort to accomplish, deal with, or understand. As a coach, I truly believe something is labeled difficult because we've not done it before and we are fearful to give the effort. Difficult does not necessarily mean complex or complicated. I need you to understand that. Difficult does not necessarily mean complex or complicated. So let me challenge you here. Is it really difficult, or is it that you don't want to put in the effort? Sit with that for a moment. And that, my friends, is how we overcomplicate things, especially our growth. So as I said, I've spoken with many women over the past few months who are desperately wanting to change their current situation and their careers, ultimately their lives in general, because there is a direct correlation between your life happiness and success and your career success. With that, I want to talk about 9 things that we do that overcomplicates our growth. Number 1, we talk. We talk about how hard everything is to achieve without ever really doing the true due diligence to know the facts about what it takes to achieve, right? So we talk about how hard something is before we even know what it's all about. We just start talking, right? So number 2, we don't write anything down. We're in our heads about what we think we want without ever really giving thought to what we really want. So when it's in our heads, it's this far-fetched dream that we add scenario upon scenario upon scenario, never really looking at it in black and white. Number 3, we don't know why we want to achieve certain things. Again, we spend time in our heads going back and forth about how hard life is and how hard this goal is without pinpointing what the goal really is and also why we even want it. Many times when we drill down to why we want something, that thing that we want may actually be something else that can satisfy our why. Think about that. Number 4, we talk too much about everything and not enough about intentional action. we're on the sidelines and in the passenger seat to our lives. So we look at others and compare ourselves and say that this person has that thing or that person has that thing because they have a leg up on me, or they manipulated their way there, or whatever. Let me tell you something about that. We never know when we've come into someone else's journey. We don't know at which point we've come into someone else's journey, meaning seeing this manifest, or where they are in their journey. It may be that they planted seeds 10 years ago and we're just now seeing it. And we're thinking, oh, that's so easy for them. So this is why you want to stop comparing yourself to other people. The comparison will kill you. It will kill a dream. Because we think that we should be where someone else is without knowing the effort that they've put in or any of the backstory. How long ago did they start? Right? So there are a lot of things that goes on to that. We love to compare ourselves, and it's just a dream killer. Number 5, we start and stop and never stick with anything long enough to see real results. It's like exercise, actually. Right? We're taking score every second of the day rather than allowing ourselves to trust the process and enjoy the journey in all things you learn along the way. So I heard I heard something before, an analogy. I can't even think right now. I heard an analogy before that it was like a lady said, it's like planting corn in the morning and then going out there in the afternoon and yelling at the soil saying, where are you? Where are you? I planted you. Why aren't you growing? There's a process, right? There is a process to manifesting things in our lives and having things show up in our lives and getting to where we want to go. There's a process. And we don't give ourselves enough time. We don't stick with things long enough to see the results. So that's number 5. Number 6, we operate from a place of fear and don't even know it, or we don't even want to admit it. This is where every excuse will come to surface. Number 7, we make everything bigger than it really is. We have low self-esteem, low expectations of ourselves, detrimental self-chatter, and we don't value ourselves or see ourselves as someone who is worthy of more or better or of just anything we want. Number 8, we count ourselves out before we know the facts. We have preconceived notions and we believe them. So when someone is giving us the truth, we're still betting against ourselves. And number 9, this is the big one and the one I see very often. And I'm even guilty of this from time to time. We fight for our limitations. When I say fight, I mean fight. We put on those invisible gloves and fight as though our lives depended on it. But that's normal. Our brains are wired to protect us and to keep us comfortable. Our inner voice lies to us on a daily basis. And she comes out with those gloves on, fighting with us, for us, protecting us, right? But here's the bottom line. Your growth depends on you to be courageous. And courage is nothing more than doing things even if you're fearful, despite the fear and with the fear. Is it uncomfortable? Hell yes. Ask me how I know, because I'm courageous. Does that mean I'm Superwoman? No. Hell no. It means that I do things despite my fear. This podcast, despite my fear of talking to people or thinking that everyone on the planet is judging me at this very moment and thinking about how I sound or the quality of my work or. See, I can go on, but I won't, because I know that it's the fear inside of me that's there to help protect me. But I know that if I listened to her, I wouldn't be here helping the women who need my help. I wouldn't be here sharing my gifts with you. So how do we stop overcomplicating our growth? I'm going to leave you with 5 things to do to stop overcomplicating your growth. Number 1, get honest with yourself. Call yourself out on your own bullshit and stop playing games. Just stop it. Number 2, write down your growth goals. Use pen and paper. Seeing it in black and white does something for the brain. We've moved it out of our heads and put it on paper. Make it a real thing. Number 3, assess where you are. If you want to quantify what it's costing you to stay exactly where you are, what would that number look like? And are you okay with that? I want you to think about that. What would that number look like? How much is it costing you to be right there? Number 4, understand that there is never a perfect time for anything. When we wait for the perfect time, we miss out on opportunities because of our excuses. And here's a side note. There are no good excuses, just excuses. So I want you to complete the following 2 sentences for me. Let's do this really quickly. The first one, I'll be ready when, ... Or and, I haven't done it because, ... I want you to complete those 2 sentences. Here's the kicker. Anything you add to the end of those 2 prompts are excuses. Anything. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It can be true, it can be real, and it can be your current circumstance. It's all an excuse. Excuses complicate the most simplest desires. And number 5, last but not least, work with someone who can help simplify the process for you and support you. Let's say you've had challenges getting into shape. I love talking about this because this is me, or this was me, right? Let's say you had challenges getting into shape. You follow this person and that person online. You download all the guides. You download all the meal plans. You watch all the videos, yet you're overwhelmed and you're still where you started. Or you're only seeing mediocre results. What do you typically do? You give up and you say nothing works. Instead, what if you bet on yourself and get the accountability and routine that you need? What if you invested in yourself for a true change and hired a professional that will push you and hold you accountable? My hand is up because that's what I did. I had to get real with myself, honest with myself, and say, hey, all of this stuff that you're doing or not doing, it's not working. You're not seeing what you want to see. Yeah, you can lose weight, but is that what your goal is, right? I wanted to sculpt. I wanted to get strong. And I knew I couldn't do that on my own. So I stopped making excuses. I stopped telling myself I don't have time. Now I work out 7 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock on Saturday. Like, I find the time to do it. Even when I don't want to do it, I stop making the excuses because I know I want to see growth. I want to see results. So another example, let's say you want to get financially in shape. You have the job and you're now making the money because, hey, you worked with Jackie. Now what? You're still doing the same things you did on the lower salary, but now with more income to do more of those things that didn't work for you. So what if instead you invested in yourself and hired a financial advisor to help you get strategic with your money and help you set and stick to your financial goals? See where this is all going? It's all about you and the stories you tell yourself, the myths you buy into, and the self-talk and self-chatter and all the fighting for your limitations. My hand is up again because I've been there. I've done that. I know about these things. You can't afford to abandon yourself and your happiness. So stop overcomplicating and overthinking and finding excuses as to why this won't work out for you. It hasn't worked out for you because you're still telling yourself that it won't. So when do you stop? I know I was a little harsh on this, but sometimes that is exactly what you need to hear. I don't sugarcoat anything. Ask my clients. I'm truthful. I hold them accountable. So if you do you want the truth? Can you handle the truth, right? I've seen so many people sit in their pool of fear and excuses and wonder why they're not living the life that they want to live. So for example, they're dreaming of winning the lotto so that they can be free. You know what? That's temporary. You really don't want that money. Well, maybe a little bit, but where you are sitting today, it's not about the money. It's about what you think the money can afford you. Freedom. Freedom to do what you want to do. Freedom to grow. So how will you grow today? What are the things that you're going to do to invest in your growth? What are the excuses you will stop telling yourself? What will you stop doing and what will you do more of? Let's stop overcomplicating our growth. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Bench Talk. If you like what you heard, please subscribe, like, rate, and review so we can bring you more great conversations. And speaking of conversations, do you want to keep the conversation going? Become a founding member this year and join me in C-Suite Success Society, our career mentorship program and community designed to support you on your career success journey. Details are in the show notes below.